Hi and welcome. I'll be doing a movie review, facts, and cast. Cast was on before this video. So this video is not the actual movie, but I'll be telling you what happened in the movie, so you know if to see the movie, if you've not seen it, or just to know what the movie is about in case you want to see the movie. I'm going to try to be quick and brief. I'm not the best storyteller, but I'll try to get you know all the details of the movie. I try not to leave anything important out. Try to get the important parts and make you enjoy it. So stay tuned. And the movie I'll be reviewing and just saying the movie facts is going to be more like a movie review, movie facts with no spoilers. I'll try not to include spoilers, but if if there are spoilers, then just know that I could not help but put the spoilers. But I'll try to let you know if there'll be any spoilers ahead or anything. And this is not the full movie, but it's going to be everything you need to know about the movie, from the release date to the characters and roles they'll be playing, and about the movie. Yeah, we cannot forget that about the movie. So the movie we'll be reviewing today is the movie we'll be reviewing is Slumberland. It's a 2020 movie and is due to be released. The release date is November 18th, 2022, due to be released in the United States. And this is a Disney movie, right? No, it's not. And yeah, so what we're going to look into what this movie is all about, and like I said before, everything you need to know about the movie. So we'll start with the genes. This movie is an adventure movie, it's a comedy movie, it's about family, and it's fantasy, and it's also musical. All these musical videos that they sing, all these videos that they sing, and just like Disney movies or Barbie or anything, there are a lot of movies that they sing a lot and they try to express what they want to say through songs and all that. So this movie is one of it because it's musical. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to seeing, you know, songs, to listening to songs and to hearing songs on the movie. We'll be looking forward to that a lot. And then it's fantasy. You know what fantasy is? When we say a movie is fantasy, we understand what it is. So this movie is also fantasy. It's also a fantasy movie. So personally for me, when I hear a movie is a fantasy movie, what comes to my mind is magical movie. That's just what comes to my mind, because I believe that anything out of the ordinary is magical. So that's what comes to my mind when I see a movie, when I hear a movie, something about fantasy. But it mustn't, most times fantasy movies are not magical. Most times they just, go a little bit out of what happens in the real world. But most times they don't actually use magic and all that. So yeah, now you have a little picture. Okay, so yes, a movie review, movie facts about, it's going to be like everything you need to know about this movie, and the movie we'll be doing is Slumberland. So this movie, it's a fantasy movie, it's a musical movie, adventure, and it's about family too. Personally, when I hear about a movie being, we all know what adventure is. When you say movie is adventurous, we all know where they're moving to, how we just kind of vision how it's going to be. And then um family, it's just, it being a family movie means, yeah, it's about family, it involves family. Then the next gene is fantasy. When I hear fantasy, personally, I kind of think the movie is going to be like a magical film. I just start to think it's going to be a magical film, but most times it's not. Most times, yeah, fantasy means that they are not like acting. They're not going according to how the normal thing goes. They just kind of step out of the line, like do all those things that we know that cannot really exist in the real world. So when I hear magical, I think when I hear fantasy, I just start to see the movie as something magical. Most times they're not magical. Most times um they just step out a bit. So this movie is a fantasy movie. So we're expecting it to be out of the ordinary. We're not expecting a normal film here. We're expecting something more, something bigger, something that's going to keep us at the edge of our seats. And then it's musical. Musical movies are all those movies that, yeah, they're going to sing in it. That's how I think I would explain it. There are all these movies that they're going to sing in it. So musical, fantasy, adventure, family. Yeah, these are the gene of this movie, Slumberland. So this movie has actually not been released yet. It will be released November 13th, and November 13th, no, November 18th, 2022. This is when it's going to be reviewed, is when it's going to be released. Okay, so now let's like look at what this movie it's all about. So I'll read it out. A young girl discovers a secret map to the dream world of Slumberland, and with the help of an outlaw, she with the help she transverses dreams and flees nightmares with the hope that she will be able to see her late father again. So I did watch the thriller and try to understand everything. It's more like she's missing her dad and she meets someone that tells her that it's possible to see her dad again and all that. Then they embark on the journey to the dream world, which is Slumberland, and all she wants is just to see her dad again. So Slumberland takes audience to a magical new place, a dream world where Nemo, who is our lead actress, she's a little girl, and her companion Flip, where they embark on the adventure of a lifetime. After her father, Peter, is unexpectedly lost at sea, young Nemo Pacific Northwest existence is completely upended when she is sent to live in the city with her well-meaning but deeply awkward Uncle Philip. Her new school and new routine are challenging by day, but at night a secret map to the fantastical world of Slumberland, connects Nemo to Flip, a rough around the edges but lovable outlaw who quickly becomes her partner and guide. She and Flip soon find themselves on an incredible journey, traversing dreams and fleeing nightmares, where Nemo begins to hope that she will be reunited with her father once again. So, yeah, this is a little about the movie. This is what we should be expecting. And all this, she just wished to see her father again, hope she will see her father again. That's just all she's hoping for. This is the Netflix movie. You can see it on Netflix. And there are lots of the director of this movie is Francis Lawrence. That is the director of this movie, and the writers are Michael Handman. And this movie is also based on the book. It's based on a book. I don't know if you've noticed, but most of the movies that we watch recently, they are usually based, not usually, but most of it are based on books that were written years ago. All these movies, most of these movies are based on books. So this one is based on a book too. It's based on a book too. And there are lots of similar movies like this. If eventually this movie gets released, which it will get released, and you like it, you see it, and then you're looking for more movies like this, you're looking for more a place where you can get more movies, not a place where you can get more movies, but you're looking for more movies like this, movies that are kind of related, kind of pointing towards the same way, or have a thing or two in common. It may not really be related, but it will have a thing or two in common. We have the movies that are more like this are Little Nemo, we have um Wednesday, we have Spirited, His Dark Materials, My Father's Dragon, Lilac Crocodile, The Cause of Bridge Horror. So there are actually lots of movies that, yeah, there are lots and lots of movies that are similar to this in lots of ways. And then we did say that this movie is based on a book, and the writer of the book where this movie is based on is David. And then let's look at a little let's look at this book that he actually wrote. But I think before we look at the book, we are going to look at everything we need to know about the school of good and evil before we look at this book that was also written by David. So this one says good and evil. My bad. We're talking about Slumberland. So yeah, everything to know about Slumberland movie. Everything to know about Slumberland movie. So Yeah, this one is out. Says um okay, so they're talking about the release date, the trailer, the cast, and everything we know so far. So yeah, let's see what they have for us. Slumberland is an upcoming American fantasy adventure film directed by Francis Lawrence and written by David and Michael Handman. It is based on the comic strip Little Nemo in Slumberland. The film stars Jason Momoa and the others. Yeah. Okay, so they have always been saying, oh, it's similar to Little Nemo, it's similar to Little Nemo. So let's see Little Nemo to see how similar it is or what makes it similar. So Little Nemo is a fictional character created by American cartoonist. He originated it an early comic strip by Mickey and before receiving his own spin-off series, Little Nemo in Slumberland. The full-page weekly strips depicted Nemo having fantastic dreams that were interrupted by his awakening in the final panel. The strip is considered McKay's McKay's masterpiece for its experiments with the form of the comic page, its use of color and perspective, its filming, its timing and pacing, and the shape of its panel and its architectural and other details. I don't see any, I don't know how it's kind of related, but yeah. And so about the book. Hi and welcome. I'll be doing a recap on the movie Lou, and this movie is about a mysterious Luna living a quiet life with her dog, and she battles the elements and her own dark past. And when a neighbor's little girl is kidnapped in the storm, so the movie starts, and Lou in her farm, she dug a hole in the farm and she brought out a box. And then back in her house, she cut meat and packed it in the freezer. She also packed cash, and then she burnt documents and she sprayed her weapon, cleaned it, and got it ready to use. And then she wrote a letter, and her dog was scared because of lightning. And then she got ready to use the gun on herself. She wanted to end herself. And then, so before this all happened, there was a flashback. So Lou went into town. She drove a red truck. She went into town to get supply, and she went to the bank. She filled up a form and she was looking at the television, and the television was talking about a big storm coming, and she said she wanted to make a withdrawal. She went to the she went to the counter and she filled the form, and she told the person she wanted to take whatever that was left in her account. And this person told her that money left in her account was a huge money, and she said she knew. She put it in there herself, so she knew. And she said she wanted to take the money. And then she left, and outside the bank when she was getting ready to leave, a sheriff came up to her. His name was Rankin, and he talked to her and he gave her a bracelet to wear. and he tried making conversations with her, but she refused. And then the news was talking about, and she refused. And then she left office. The officer told her not to get struck by lightning, and she drove away. And then a brown haired man watched her as she left. And then Lou stopped her truck as the woman led her sheep past the road. And then the radio went on, and it was talking about biggest storm in years. And he also said that they should stay in their house till evening and prepare for the storm, and power lines were going to be down, and there could be flooding in low-lying areas, and areas being suspended, and as they were storm paths. Then Lou turned off the radio. Then somewhere else in a yard, a woman, Hannah, she took her clothes down from the clothesline, and she searched for her daughter. They were playing a game of hide and seek, and then she found her daughter. And then she covered in the garden. She covered something in plastic, and her daughter asked her when their father was going to come back, when he was going to find the treasure and come home. And then, seeing on this, Hannah didn't want to answer her daughter about this, so she told her daughter they were going to play another game. And then she told her daughter game on, and her daughter V ran into the forest for another game. And then V ran through a cornfield, and Hannah shook her head and then continued what she was doing. And then Lou pulled up in Hannah's driveway and told her she wanted her rent tomorrow. Hannah tried to make an excuse and asked Lou to extend the time, but Lou told her that she was going to take no excuses, and Hannah should get the rent for her, and she should keep it on her table and not in the mailbox, because it will get wet in the mailbox because of the storm. And then she stared at Hannah for a little while, then she left. and and while she was driving out to pull into her driveway, V ran out and she nearly ran her over, and Hannah came running. Hannah then scolded Lou and asked her what was wrong with her, that she couldn't just be speeding around when she knew there was a child around. And then Lou told her to teach her child how to behave, that the world was not a playground. And then she drove off and pulled into her driveway. And then when she got there, she closed her eyes for a while and took a deep breath. And then she told Jax, her dog, to come out so they could go into the house. And then at Hannah's house, a bearded man came to her. He came out of his car, and Hannah asked V to go inside. And the bearded man's name was Chris. So Chris asked Hannah if everything was okay, and Hannah said everything was okay. He didn't ask Hannah if Lou was still disturbing her, and Hannah could not recall talking about Lou. So she asked the man if she had told him about Lou when she was drunk, and he said yes, that Hannah told him about Lou when she was drunk. And then she said she does not remember. Then Chris started to step forward. Chris started to step towards her, and then just then V shouted from inside that she could not find her Mr. Hippo, which was her stuffed animal. And then Hannah told her she was going to come in with her and help her look for it. And then the bearded man Chris, asked Hannah if she had gotten a time to ask if she had gotten a time to tell V about her father, and she said no, she had not gotten the time to tell V about her father. And then somewhere in Lou's house, she stared at them from her house holding a shovel. And then she walked in the rain she walked into the rain. And then Chris was driving out of Hannah's house back into town. And when he was driving, he saw a man in the rain. And when he was driving happily, playing a song. He was very happy. And then he saw a man in the rain. He stopped his car, and the man asked him if he could get a ride. And he said sure. And the man got in, and the man told him sorry because he was getting his seat soaked. And Chris said it was okay. And then they started going, and then Lou walks under the rain, and she stopped in front of a small hill and examined the area. Then she digged her shovel into the soil. And then back at Chrissy's van, the man that he had picked up from the rain picked up a book from his car and asked him about the book. He then said he bought it for a friend of his, and he told him that a friend of his, and he was referring to Hannah. He said that Hannah's ex died 3 months ago, and she was having a rough time facing it. And then the man said that so he wanted to take it slow, and then he said yes, that he wanted to help Hannah face it and also be friends. That he just wanted to be friends with her because he wants to take it slow for now. And Hannah had a kid, and he also said that Hannah wanted to take it slow. And then the man that he had picked up then picks up a song and played it in the car. And while they were singing, Chris noticed Chris recognized the song, and he started smiling too. And while he was focused on the road and also listening to the song, just then the man that he had picked up looked at him and attacked him, smashed his head into the dash and into the steering wheel. And the rain pouring outside made it impossible for anyone around to hear him. And then the rain poured on the van, and he moved forward for a little while and then stopped. Obviously, they were struggling with the steering wheel in the van. And then at her house, Hannah took money off a jar, and on the jar it was labeled to college fund jar. And then she put the money in the envelope labeled blue, and then she looked out of her window. The rain kept pouring, and at Lou's house, she sits behind her fireplace. She looked down at pictures, black and white pictures of a house and of her when she was young, and of a lighthouse. And then she put them in the fire, and she unravels a film reel, and she had a remembrance of people in a ride, a little boy running, and a man grabbed the little boy, and the little boy kicked and screamed. The man in black suit blindfolds the boy and tries to pull him. Then back at Hannah's house, V made bracelets, and Hannah walked up to V and asked V what she was doing. V then said that she was making bracelets for her daddy. V obviously missed her daddy because she had not seen him in a long while, and then she had not seen him in a long while. Then she made bracelets that wrote daddy on it, and then Hannah then told V to look at her. She told V that she had wanted to tell her something about daddy, and Hannah couldn't say the words, so she just told V that her father loved her so much and he thinks about her. And then with that, V smiled, and she asked V what she was making, and V said she was making friendship bracelets. And then Hannah asked her for who. She said she was making for Lou, and Hannah got shocked and asked her why she was making bracelets for Lou, and V said because she liked Lou. Hannah then said why does she like Lou? She said because she likes Lou, and because Jack likes Lou and she likes Jack. Jack is Lou's dog. And then Hannah told V that she does not like Lou. And then back at Lou's house, she wrote a letter and said, the letter said, I have never been known for many words, so I'll keep this short. The house is yours, sell it. There is months worth of meat of meat for Jacks in the freezer and some cash for you. There are certain decisions I made that you will never understand, but it's all in the past. Life can be cruel. What made you great? What made me great at some things made me lousy at others. I wish I could say that some good came from what I did. I left the world a more dangerous place. She then looked down at Jack and took a drink. Then back at Hannah's house, in V's room, V and Hannah played, and she told V that it was bedtime now. And then V said she was hot, and Hannah told her she'd be cold soon because of the rain. And then just then their door opened, and V got scared. Hannah told her that it was just the wind and nothing was wrong, and she should not be scared. And V said she was not scared. Hannah then asked V if she wanted to sleep in her room tonight, and V said yes, she would sleep there with her if Hannah needs her to. And Hannah said yes, she needs her to. And just then, the lights went out, and Hannah told V to stay put, that she was going to go check what happened to the lights, and she was going to be right back. And just then, she left to check what was wrong with the lights. She took her flash and left to check what was wrong with the lights. And when she got to the switch, she tried to turn it on and nothing happened. She looked at Lou's house and there was still light. Lou still had light, she still had power supply. And then in Lou's house, Lou dragged her stubborn dog into the bathroom and pushed him inside, and she shut the door. And then the dog kept on barking, but Lou didn't listen to him. And at Hannah's house, V hears a noise. By this time, Hannah was no longer with V. She left to go outside and check the light. Then V was inside alone. She heard a noise that was coming. She was frightened, and she had the front door open. And she kept on asking, "Mommy, is that you?" And she thought it was her mom and kept on calling out to her mom. And then V saw Hannah from the window. V saw that her mom was far from the house, so it couldn't be her mom that was opening the door. So she hid herself in the laundry and then closed the lid. And outside, Hannah ran to the light distribution and tried to turn it on, but it was stuck. Just then she saw something. Then V opened the lid a little and looked out. She saw something, and she saw her doorknob move, and something entered it. She saw her doorknob move slowly, and then a small hose was pushed in, and then it started to spray gas into her room. Then outside, Hannah saw Chris's van parked outside. She then thought that Chris would help her with the light issues, and she knocked on the window for Chris to open, but there was no response. She kept on knocking, then she looked down and saw a flat tire. She goes to the back of the van, which was not locked, and she turned it open. She saw Chris, who was unconscious, and he was tied up and he was covered in red liquid. Then, in fear, Hannah ran back. She looked at her house and she ran back shouting V. And then, when she ran back into her house, she opened the door and she went to V's room. She looked around, but she couldn't find V. She looked under the bed and around, and she still couldn't find V. Then she saw on the bed a book, and on the book said, "On Death and Dying." And then, tucked in between it, was a picture of a man holding V. Just then, Hannah's eyes widened, and she knew that V was in trouble. And then at Lou's house, at Lou's house, she had put her sniper under her chin, ready to fire and use it on herself. Just when she reached for the trigger, the lights went out, and just then, Hannah stormed into her house. Lou got frightened for a minute,
and she pointed her gun to Hannah. And then Hannah asked her where her phone was, and she asked Hannah why she was looking for her phone. And Hannah says she got to call the sheriff because someone took her daughter, and Lou told her to slow down and asked her why she wanted to call the sheriff because Lou was not hearing what she was saying earlier. And she said because her line was not working, because the lights went out, and because someone took her daughter. Lou's father had taken Lou. Lou's father took her, and he's here. And then Lou looked V's father had taken V, and then Lou looked confused. She asked Hannah how sure she was that V's father had taken her, and Hannah said she was sure that she had seen a picture, and she also said that he was supposed to be dead, and how was he here? Lou tried to know if Hannah did see him. Hannah said no, but he found them. She also said she thought they were free of him, and she told you that that V's father Philip had killed Chris, and then she asked Lou where her keys was because her car wouldn't start, and she got to get to the sheriff, and then Lou said she would drive. Lou then went outside, and with Hannah, they got into her car, and she tried to start it, but her car won't start. And then she left the car and went out and tried and opened the hood. Just then, a child's clock with a digital time was counting down from 15. Then she shouted to Hannah, who was already out of the truck. She shouted to Hannah to run, and then they ran and hid beside the house. Just then, the truck exploded. Lou covered Hannah's head, and then Hannah asked Lou how she knew about it. Hannah asked Lou how she knew about it, and she asked Lou how she knew about it, and Lou said she saw the timer, and just then they looked down and they saw a trail of something, and they saw a trail of something, and Lou put on her night vision goggles, and she said she said to Hannah that Philip must be dragging V in something because she found trails on the floor, and then somewhere in the forest with night vision goggles, a large container on wheels pulled someone. And then back at Louis' house, she went back inside with Hannah. She took her letter that she wrote, and she let Jack out of the bathroom. She threw the letter in the bathroom too and told Jack sorry about that. And then she said she was not done yet. And then she told Hannah that a bomb means that he has been planning this through and that they need help. And Hannah said that she needs to get to the sheriff, and Hannah said she needs to get to the sheriff, but she can't get to him because there were no cars and the phone was down, and they were 10 miles out of town. And they were 10 miles out of town. And Lou told Hannah that her kid goes further by the second. And Lou then says that she needed to track them. And Hannah looked confused about the tracking. She then asked Lou Then Lou went on the generator and asked Hannah to get batteries. Then Hannah went to the kitchen and searched for batteries. Then through Lou's drawer in the kitchen, she opened the locker, and she told Lou that she doesn't understand that Philip was in a green beret, and he was wanted for terrible things that he had done in the Central America war crime stuff. And Hannah saw the transcripts that he was holding. She said she had seen transcripts that Phil was no ordinary person and he was dangerous. And she said that he was torturing hostage for fun, and he was highly trained, and he was an explosive expert, and that they were no match for him and they needed help, professional help. And she then told Lou that she and her dog can't catch him, that they needed help, and Phil was very trained. And then Lou asked Hannah if he took anything, and then Hannah said that that Philip took this Mr. Hippo, her stuffed animal, and her blankie. Then Lou said that he wants her to be comfortable, but Hannah said no, that he wants her to be quiet. And then just then she saw something hanging from Lou's ceiling. When Lou caught her eye, she told her that it was for renovations. And then Hannah continued, telling Lou that when they had tried to arrest Philip, he blew his apartment and that they sent him a death certificate. And how was he still alive? And then when they were outside, Lou saw sleeping gas in a container. She saw the container of a sleeping gas which Philip had used on V. And then she told Hannah that Hannah was lucky it did knock her out. Just then Lou on turned on her flashlight and then she saw the tracks on the floor. She told Hannah that he was pulling her in something and that they went on the island, and if they got on the island it would get messier, and if they left the island it was going to be very hard for them to find her. And then Lou also thought that the airports and ferry were closed, so he had to go through a private vessel, and they were heading fast. And then Lou told Hannah to stay here and not move. She told Hannah that once the storm clears, she should head into town, and the first house she saw, she should call the sheriff and then get help. And then Lou started walking, and Hannah walked beside her, not listening to her about waiting. And then Lou asked her where she was going, and she said she was going to find her child, and she was not going to sit back and do nothing. And then Lou told her she didn't know what she was doing, and she said she was not going to go out and she had to go find her child. And then she looked at Lou, and Lou told her that if she slowed her down, she would have to leave her behind. And then just then, Hannah and Lou and Jax went on. Jax led them through the forest, and somewhere in a cabin, still inside the container, V wakes up and she rubbed her eye. She had a man making a call, and his back was to her. Then she sees the man coming to her. She didn't recognize him, and then Philip told her that he was okay and he won't hurt her. He then told her that since she didn't recognize him, he was going to try to bring her memory back. Then he did a little hand gesture which V recognized and said, "It's you." And V recognized that that was her father. She then told her father that he finally came back for her, and he said yes. She asked him if he was back from his adventure, and he said yes, he was back from his adventure, and he did bring a gift for her from his adventure. Then he gave her a speaker, and then V asked if mommy was coming because Philip had said they were traveling and they were going far, and he was going to take her on the adventure with him. And she asked her if mommy was coming, and she said yes, of course, mommy was coming, and that he left notes and clues for mommy. And once mommy sees it, that mommy was going to come. And then he handed Lou the gift and asked her what she said when she was giving a gift. And Lou told him thank you. Just then, the radio went on and he started talking to someone over the radio, and then he leaves and goes outside. Then in the forest, Lou followed trails that she found of the container that Philip was using to pull V, and then the flashlight goes off. Lou's flashlight went off, and Hannah handed her new batteries, and then she put on the new batteries and turned on the flash, and then they continued with Jax with them. Then they approached a cliff, and they approached a cliff, and Lou handed Hannah a granola bar, and then they found tracks in the mud outside the cabin somewhere. Lou and Hannah laid on the ground. They had seen a cabin and they laid on the ground to observe. And then, when they observed, they saw that there were two men standing outside. They saw two men standing outside. They found the cabin and they hid in a bush close to it. And they tried to observe and know if it was safe. And because the real mark on the floor had led them there. And then they saw two men standing outside. And then, just then, Hannah recognized them. She said they were Tony and Jerry, and they served Philip, and they were very vicious, just like Philip was. And they said they should stay. And then, just then, Hannah tried to stand up. Lou told her she should stay down because she wore a yellow jacket, and it could bring attention to them. And then Lou, Lou told Hannah to wait outside there. She then handed Hannah her rifle and told Hannah Hannah to use it if someone came closer. And then she also gave Hannah She also gave Hannah a knife and told her if anyone got too close, she should use the knife. And she then asked Hannah if he knew how to use it. And she said yes, that she took lessons after she left Philip. She had learned how to use a gun after she left Philip to ensure she and V's safety. And then Lou went to take a look, and she went to take a look in the cabin to know if he was there. And then that's when she told her that if anybody comes close, she should use the knife she gave her. And if they came too close, she should aim for the eye. And then Hannah asked her how she knew all this. And she said because she was in Girl Scouts. And then she told Jake to stay. And Jake sat. And then Hannah watched the two men. And then she saw Lou crawl to the cabin. And Lou went somewhere and she removed her hat and made her hair wet. She then went in limping, and she told the men outside that she needed help and she lost her dog, and she just needed to rest a while as she hurt her leg, and she had been limping, and the storm was getting worse, and she just needed to rest and catch her breath before going on the search with her dog. When the man outside had seen her, he pulled out his gun, but when he saw it was an it was a helpless old lady, he put the gun back and allowed her inside. And then inside, Lou went to the fireplace to warm her hands. And then another man inside offered her a chair and told her to sit. She then sat, and she said she was more comfortable now because the cabin was warm. And then the man asked her her name. She said her name was Martha Flemings, and she stayed around. She also went ahead to say that he probably knew her husband, and just when she was trying to say, the man cut her off, saying that he doesn't know her husband and he doesn't care. And then when she sat down, the man was drinking soup, and she told the man that the soup smelled delicious. And then she looked around and she saw V's jacket and a postcard, a postcard. And then the man saw her gaze, and the man found out she was looking around. Small scale by design, this plot twisty thread is a great watch for one big reason. It's fun. That is expect stuff. This is expect stuff that is just perfect for the creep factors. Some well placed jump scares and actual laugh. Pretty cool that Zack known temporarily for his comic writing is at the helm. He pivoted to the horror gene here and developed characters more deeply and realistic than we usually see. Also, Skaka, Campbell, and Long are just perfect in their assignment. Barbarian punches above its weight class, and I recommend watching it without having knowledge of the plot beforehand. My adrenaline was through the roof throughout the whole movie. I loved how the movie played with my expectations of what would happen in the movie. It started, it might start like the romantic comedy for some viewers, but the fact that I knew it's a horror movie kept me intrigued and suspicious. The film has depth and layers, and it does a great job at explaining the plot, leaving you satisfied, knowing that you don't have to leave the theater with silly cliffhangers. The way the movie develops reminds me of Don't Breathe as well as Get Out. Think one of the elements that makes the film is scary is how relatable it is. Renting a place, sleeping in it, and trusting there's nothing or anyone lurking in the dark. I haven't enjoyed a horror movie so much in a long time. Probably, probably one of the most original horror movies to come out in years, if not decades. I really enjoyed it from beginning to the credits rolled. Quite honestly, I might do the real thing and drop another $11 to see it. The story is simple. Double booked Airbnb brings together an unusual couple, or maybe so not so unusual. Some weird stuff happened at night in the shady parts of Detroit where the house is. Neighborhood is run down except for the well manicured home the Airbnb sits on. This adds to the airiness. The house holds some seriously disturbing secrets, right down to the dirty mattress with an old school camcorder setup. The room, for some reason, is set apart from the rest of the house. Seriously disturbing secrets I did not see coming. I honestly could not guess that direction this horror movie was going, but it does there and it goes there full throttle, just in time for the spooky season. This movie is one scary thrill ride. Actually, kinda stayed with me for a little bit afterwards. Bill the Crown from his unrecognizable and Georgina Campbell reminds me of a young Rogelio Darwin. You will have a good time finding out the secrets in this one. No spoilers because, quite honestly, the big reviews in this one are some of the most original I've seen. Spoilers, I was shocked and scared by the movie. I wish they had done more depth with Tess' background and the backstory of the previous owner. We definitely got more of JAJ's history and details, but in hindsight, I understand why I enjoyed the story and directly the mystery aspect. It was more shocking than I expected. I don't like trying to figure out movies. I enjoy letting them wash over me. I don't think I could have figured this movie out if I had tried. The movie is best played going through it blindly and not read about it or watch any other clips. I gave it a shot due to creepy storyline. Finally, an actual horror movie. Why is it so hard, Hollywood? Why can't you make a horror movie these days? No black phone, Ofantu, bodies. None of these are legitimate horror movies. They are also bad, but that's beside the point. Barbarian finally gives 2022 something to scream about. Anytime someone goes into the tunnel, you know what's going to pop out or happen. The movie does a great job of building tension, but more importantly, it delivers on the build up with something happening almost every time. Barbarian does have a its flaws. The characters do some really things, borderline unforgivable decisions making. There is also a really bad scene with some cops. Overall, the movie's greatest strengths are the cinematography and music, which really makes the atmosphere and tension of this movie creepy. All the actors are dynamite. I swear there were also some surprising, hilarious moments sprinkled throughout. If you like Don't Breathe or The Descent, then I'd recommend this movie as it is kind of mismatch of both these. Barbarian was an absolute intense film and one I am so happy I saw in the theater. I am a massive fan of horror and thrillers. In the vein of this film, there such as 2014 Script, one of my favorite horror films of all times, 2017 Crave, which I still have yet to watch, and 2020 Barbarian, which was a brilliant theater experience that I highly recommend. Barbarian was a film that I knew almost nothing about at first. Hadn't watched a trailer, hadn't seen any promotional materials, nothing going into this film unexpected is something you definitely want to do. Barbarian was a raw and unexpected ride from the start to finish. From the opening scene, I felt tense, and no point did I know what to expect or did stop being scared even during the funny moments. I was absolutely terrified. The film did a masterful job blending fantastic music, top notch tension, great cinematography, and an incredible use of flashback together to create a truly amazing experience that will be hard for me to forget. Every time I thought I couldn't get crazier, it did, and every time I calmed down, I was scared with brilliant jump scares that some of the best I've seen in a long time. The world needs more movies like this. Barbarian is a raw movie, unrelatedly tease movie that made me laugh, disturbed, unrelentingly tensed and had me laugh and tense all the way. I'm gonna give Barbarian an A. I never trusted MBMB before, and thanks to this Barbarian, I can justify that feeling. I had high hopes for this movie, so high, and instead all I left was frustrated. How could so many characters make all the wrong choice? Every single decision made had a right way and a wrong way, and by the 17th straight bad direction, the movie ultimately became very predictable. An interview checks into an Airbnb only to find out it's already rented by a is he really this nice of a guy? Her instincts tell her to leave and find another place. So of course she stays in what seems like the nicest place in the absolute worst neighborhood in America. Turns out looks can be deceiving. Yeah, it was pretty vouch on this. I love to go into movies cold, and the first two-thirds of this movie is worth seeing. You probably know what's coming. It's the last third that sank all the potentials this movie built up. In fact, I movie almost made the movie feel incomplete, or that they are making planning the glitch prequel to expand on so many of the ideas brought up here and barely explored. I was already irritated so much by the incredible bad choices these sinfully normal folk make, but then the movie shifts into supernatural terrorists that were never established in the first two acts. The villain of the story is just about as strong as Jason, but with no expectations that is gathered. At least the god Justin is zombie from VI onwards, and that is the time he became three times stronger and more resilient than ever before. The bad person in this movie not only had the strength of both Jason and Victor combined, but can defy the laws of physics. No spoiler, but involve a miraculous stunt in mid-air. Plus, I wasn't a fan of the look of the villain. The villain looked so generic, and I've seen that look numerous times before. It wasn't terrible, just frustrating, especially if you think too logically. Recommended unless you leave your brains at the door. Final thoughts: I don't watch thrillers or watch reviews prior to seeing a movie I wanted to see. That said, I can tell in the minority, perhaps vast minority, but that's cool. Sounds like others have been something I didn't. Happens to me all the time as well. And concerning MBMB, one, I can't believe they lent their name to this production. It doesn't paint it doesn't paint them in a good light. Two, I've never used the service nor even plan to. It's just a personal thing. I would both feel uncomfortable in someone else's place unattended, but would fear they would have hidden cameras up everywhere. So nothing I do on holidays, supposedly alone or with a loved one, is private. I don't blame them for the camera since it's their place, but I certainly wouldn't want someone spying on me. It's worth whatever price more to choose a hotel, and besides, three, you could end up in a movie like this one. I just don't get the high rating. To start with, the trailer shows it all. There was nothing extra except showing my husband, and I laughed out loud at. You will get it when you see it. You can't miss what I'm saying. The movie starts with 45 minutes of character building. Finally, something happens, and then another character is added. We sit back and let the character build again and again. Unfortunately, there's only a small amount of horror thrill to it, lots of unforeseen laughter. I definitely recommend saving your money and watching this on Netflix. Then you can walk away from it guilt free, knowing you didn't pay for this on the big screen. The horror of the barbarian lies in the suspense that's created right from the get go. The whole situation between Tess and Kit falls off, and I found myself sitting there anxiously waiting to see if this was going to turn into some kind of psycho killer kidnapping a girl type of movie. But just then, when the viewer thinks things are gonna go one way, the film throws a curveball. This movie has really good cinematography and lighting, especially during the tunnel scenes. You see, we are atmospheric and will make nervous. Also, the music is awesome and contributes to that sense of dread. Our final girl Tess makes some really silly and frustrating decisions at times. But hey, if you're willing to look over that, you will enjoy the movie. Once a big reveal happens, the monstrous villain is shown, and Barbarian turns from a suspense filled film into a more standard pop conflict. Honestly, another cool thing about it is how the story revolves around a few main characters. The narrative shifts so we get to spend a little time with each other, and then their stories are tied together, sort of an unconventional way of approaching this kind of stuff. So I appreciate that. This is the type of movie I think will go straight to shutter. Good, pretty fun, pretty solid. It is even creepier in its psychologically driven moments are opposed to its louder in your face moments. In my opinion, I'd be interested if their prequel revolving around Richard Brake's character and what went down in the house decades prior to the events of this movie. Having not seen any trailers, I went into Zack Krieger's Barbarians knowing only that it was about a woman who books a house only to discover that a man also built the house, leading to questions of what happened. It turns out that's only the starting point. this is one movie that really plays the audience even after the most shocking scenes, of which there are many. You still have no idea what's coming. My point is that this is one of the most innovative horror movies in years. Maybe not like Psycho or The Shining, but this is still one for the age. Definitely check it out. So, yes, first 15 minutes was a little interesting but kinda boring. Was wondering, is anything going to happen? Is the movie ever going to start out of the house? Then it got a lot more interesting. The moment quickly changed. It felt like it jumps to another movie. Literally thought I was watching a commercial. Oh, can they put a commercial in a movie? Like this is intermission. But this commercial did make the movie a lot more interesting. Problem with the movie is that they too quickly jumped around giving any good explanation. Oh, that's just happened. Why? And you never learn why any of it happened. It's pace for the most part. Surprisingly, pace for the most part. Surprisingly, that I say a horror movie has a good pace, right? Well, the pace of this movie did well and kept me entertained without shrieking too many things. Barbarian dives into things very quickly, but then manages to ease on the brakes and start it slowly drive through the story. It works very well to give you all the details needed to piece the story, but also plays very well with the scare factors to help build up the movie. For the for the most part, it works very well, and I appreciate a movie finding the right balance in the short time frame. The comedy again, a movie that can use comedy well is rather than the 90s, and this movie is one of those that found the balance well. Barbarian comedy is not so many one-liners and in-your-face quotes, but rather subtle sarcasm and the lame characters that long plays. It's a dark humor with more dry undertones and ridiculous laughing antics, and it really works for me naturally. They were wrote in the script. Even better, the movie does a bang up job of balancing it as well without again doing too much. But in this movie, when you do this and not shove it down your throat, Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars, then you get a victory in my book for a good comedic device use. The acting is great. Horror movies can take shortcuts with whom they choose to act, but the movie again did a fantastic job with this quality as well. Shaka is good for the role as the awkward Kent, usually that is quality of his to play the ambitious character role. that makes great for the first half of the film. This acting is a nice keep you on your toes and is probably one of the top engaging characters on the bunch long is after and works for the direction. He took his characters more complex as the film continues, but never quite shaking the other quality that he starts with, which again leads to some engaging moments with him. He's the comic junkie too, but again does it well and is not in the dodgeball manner, and we've seen him in before as the Campbell. The woman was good in this film for so many reasons. She was a strong character for the most part, logical but engaging in her weakness and portraying the terror very genuinely. Campbell is the best character and the best performance in my book, and she does super well with connecting so much of the movie. The makeup effects when you get to the exciting moments and the revelations, the prosthetics we make it it makes the scene the best shock factor of the moment. I can't say much, but the department really made IWH elements look really good, adding that skin crawling effect you want in those moments, alternation to key skin pigment, dirty grooming motif, and so many other effects really crafts the ick factor, and I only wish for some of them we got more time to appreciate their work. The setting is realistic. Movies really love making our characters dive into the area no logical person walk into, or at least one with intelligence. However, this movie again strays from the norm and succeeds in one more, giving us a chilling place for the fears to creep out. A normal house, no built on radioactive dump or grave house, or is naturally haunted, or just a normal house. That area make for a very uncomfortable scenario, one that robs you of the luxury a common community grants in vacations. I can't say much more than that, but having such a calm setting minimizes the cheese factor to the extent to keep the scares intense as ever. The story, a horror story that is actually good in something we don't see planned out too much for the shock, chills, and scare factor. Barbarian True faces a little more on the table, and I was very happy with the build up, characters, development, and give us a logical reason for the chaos at hand. The story is gradually introduced and becomes and actually takes a different form for each act that we go in, helping to combine all the components into one climatic art. You don't get too ambitious moments to get stuck in wondering but the firm pace and fun helps this aspect and smooth out the story components to give you a complete, if still a bit shallow, take again. Is not too complicated, and that works in this movie. Trying to do a lot. The balance of scars to the plot, and of course, when you have a movie that works on the scale to story ratio, you could a big favor for me. This movie tries to utilize a lot of factors to keep the middle aged, and it works very to keep things entertaining. It helps keep things fresh. Don't resort to cheesy tactics for the most, and also don't go too far out of its way to try to be unique and different. As such, this movie gets big pros for that, for what it can achieve. Dislike, not scary. I am desensitized, I'm sure, but many of the people watched in the theater did not seem to jump at one of the artists. Barbarian are not the most mind-numbing, scary, with nothing we haven't seen before. It uses jump scares as well, and the other factors are either comically designed, executed, or more on the gross side of horrors. Why this works for the story, it does not work so much for the scaredness. So fans like me won't be quite as impressed as this factor. However, I encourage those who can handle disturbingly gross stuff to really shy away from this movie. Cross out factors is your stupidly of gross out factors. There is another dislike. I was not a fan of seeing Krieger managed to blunt some of it well with his censorship, doing everything to give you enough of the antics because being in your face so respects to you and help buffer things for sensitive fans. Still, the idea and concept of the story is a bit disgusting, which can be a bit too bad at times. The dark humor again helped mitigate mitigate the full intensity, but there were these moments just just aren't for me as the main scare factor. The story feeling incomplete is early that the story is wrapped up and gives you it's good that the story is wrapped up and it gives you wrapped up. The suspense is rather minimal without the full details of the whole thing. Seeing the details come out and really help gradually piece the horror together. The suspense is mere for me. I've seen horror movies where they keep you guessing, making close calls, and talking about characters to the edge where safety is not assured. But this film didn't do that for me, and given the other qualities, I would have enjoyed seeing a little more obstacles, strategy, and drama to help add just enough extra stuff to succeed in rounding out the movie. Adding these elements would have again helped with the scare and the thrill. My interlude, my least favorite thing with the ups and downs of the movie is the interlude that takes place in the film. At this point, the movie does both a good and a bad thing for me in terms of enjoyment. It also breaks off the horror and gives you comedy to try and enjoy with a new tale arrive, which helps add a little more suspense and wonder. However, the movie's diversion seems a bit out of place. The comedy sometimes with it as they try to get this second part to be the same of I could have worked well for me, but the placing from seems a bit random and the time not long enough to really establish what happened to the group and such. This interlude is not the worst thing, but it throws a wedge in things that's horrible but just feel a bit out of place. Barbarian turned out to be nice for me in this gen with a powerful start to the fourth season. The movie is funny, dark, and surprisingly good with the story and scare balance in many ways because that the other films is very good for helping balance a lot of factors, keeps good characters in the film with with acting that helps bring everything to life. It ultimates comedy well, keeps things at the nice pace and utility, the setting and effects very well to help establish the tension they were going for. However, the movie was not very scary to me, more gross at moments, more gross at moments, but the censorship helps things get of those who are sensible, though enough things who are sensible, though enough to get the message across. There is still some edge missing from the movie that that other films have done to really highlighting their surprise along and in truth that both does and does not work for me given its placement. As soon as the movie overall is a fun movie, this movie is to be enjoyed at home. If being honest, overall, though not a bad movie to add to the list, surprisingly, I've been hesitant to watch Barbarian for a while after seeing the trailer few times on TV. The trailer only gives you like a snippet of information, but you enjoy to keep you interested and what works. Barbarian really delivered. Horror fans we appreciate this one. I want to say it's become my favorite horror now. LOL. Highly recommend watching this on big screen. We go to the movies on big screens and to go into the movies without knowing much will make the experience worth it. I want to see this, even want to buy it however way I can when it comes out of theaters. Barbarian is what you get when you unsuccessfully try to mix hatchet and the heels half eye. It starts out promising enough with a bizzo. Is this guy a serial killer style film, but discovers into a half cooked dead art that goes off the rail, but not in a good way. I understand wanting to take a unique direction in horror, and with some tweaks, maybe Barbarian would have kicked it out of the park, but that we get just doesn't satisfy my horror tooth. Let's also get a big thing out of the way. If you're going to call your horror film Barbarian, it then well better deliver on the carnage candy, which this film does not. Give me Adam's Jane Hatchet series anyway. At least it does not, it does what it promised. Way overhyped. I agree, way overhyped. I agree with several of the in praise of the first few scenes. There is definitely a feeling of tension and anticipation of what dread awaits the main character, even there is a jump cut to another character in high spirits driving along the coast highway singing the radio. I thought to myself, this is interesting. How does it relate to the trouble come back at the house? Unfortunately, it's all downhill from there, and I soon find myself wondering how long this movie would last, which of course pulled me right out of the story. That's when the yours came and persisted to the end. We turned for the night, we for the high ratings. It got me to pay for a ticket, like the saying goes, film me once, shame on you, film me twice, shame on me. First half of this movie gets a 9 over 10. For me, the movie gets a 4 over 10. The reaction gets a 7 over 10. The spoilers here, but I'll tell you what to keep from having it without telling you. The movie isn't the movie is Tom Braid meets Promising Woman. Hollywood wants nothing more than the dish out social compliments, pats themselves on the back for each cutesy satire, which formed by the flogging, which for cutesy. Hollywood wants nothing more than to dish out social commentary, pat themselves on the back for such cutesy satire, while forgetting they are perjuring their own actress is convenient. Definitely a weird one. Some very good horror, and the way it displays the terrifying scenes and the new plot points is great. The movie is very predictable and you will not know what is coming next. There are some interesting twists, and the characters are all different and fun to watch. A fun of great kills and lots of very cool game with excellent practical effort, excellent music, and overall just looks really good. Pretty fun at parts. lots of weird things happen, while sometimes the way it goes from horror to a whole new character can be a little jarring and slow down the movie quite a bit. I think it works. Overall, weird, scary, and unpredictable movie that is worth watching.